All right.
No, I have it.
You want a marshmallow?
Yes.
I'm waiting for the green
I
light.
have to go get another one. This meeting will be over in 5 minutes.
Thank you. Ready? We are going to call this emergency meeting of the Martin County School Board to order. If you would all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Falls, will you please call the roll?
Mr. DeTerlizzi,
Here.
Mrs. Roberts,
Aye, aye.
Mrs. Powers, Mrs. Powers, Mrs. Pritchett,
Here.
Mrs. Russell.
Here. We'll wait just a minute to see if we can hear from Marcia.
Mrs. Powers,
She can't hear us, I don't think, or we can't hear her.
Yeah.
Twice if you hear it. I guess it's not going to be working on the 4th.
I hear her talking in the box.
We can hear her in there, just not out here.
Did we go into the box?
Since you have a quorum, she's going to go ahead and step out.
Okay. All right. Okay, very good. Well, we will move on.
Please have it working by the 4th.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Pritchett and a second by Mr. DeTerlizzi. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We will now move on to our action item. Item number 3.01, Controlled Open Enrollment High School Additions. Are there any questions from the board? Ms. Roberts?
So I had a question. I discussed this with Dr. Miller earlier today, and I'm interested in adding, as we add those other two high schools and understanding what that means, is that we specify that it's for full-time equivalent students. Meaning, and if you can explain, my understanding is that would include, you could be doing dual enrollment, you could be doing work study, you could be doing internships, but it would kind of close a loophole piece for if you were just coming, because what happens is the way that Dr. Miller has found this available space is by looking at people's schedule and looking at their, say, off blocks and realizing that if two students are taking half of their schedule as off blocks, it frees up a whole seat for somebody. Mm-hmm. But in freeing up that whole seat, I think when we fill that whole seat, we should be sure that we're filling that with another student that is taking a whole seat. Because if we're counting them, you know, if we're saying you get 100 people and we're counting them all as 100, we're going to end up in the same situation if those 100 come in and each take a half schedule or mostly off blocks and 2 courses or something. And it still creates a position where they can still do dual enrollment, they can still do work study, they can still do internships. Those are still full-time equivalent students. But it eliminates the getting a student who is taking a whole list of off blocks and then messing that up. So that's the only piece. And I know if you could talk to the piece about the athletics.
Dr.
Sure.
Miller?
Yes, thank you very much. Feedback there. So yes, Mrs. Roberts explained that perfectly. That is how we were able to find some space available, and we will know as students who are currently enrolled in our high schools, as they complete their schedules and their requests for schedules for next year, we'll be able to get a better picture of the exact number of seats that might be available at each of our high schools. And that is the way that we're able to free up some space in the schools for additional students who would like to join us. And so the way that they could join us is by completing the controlled open enrollment form. So anyone who is a resident or non-resident who would like to attend one of our schools must complete the controlled open enrollment application, which will go live tomorrow and will be available through March 31st. After the 31st, on that application, a parent would indicate the interest for their child to attend one of our schools, and should the board approve this agenda item tonight, all schools, comprehensive schools, would be available for controlled open enrollment depending on seats available, and those seats available will fluctuate by school, by grade level, and by time of year. There may be other availability once students go on a wait list. If they don't get accepted initially, as the year unfolds, we may have additional availability and some students may come off the wait list. So things may open up as the year progresses and students transition. But once parents apply for controlled open enrollment, after the period closes on April 1st, we will work furiously to compile everything. And we basically, according to policy, have 4 phases or 4 groups, if you will. The first group are the Martin County residents. Well, the first group includes our employees, children of Martin County School District employees. Also includes Martin County residents with characteristics such as students in foster care, students with a court order, or active military, students of active military members. So that would be the first group or the first phase or the first priority of students. And we would use the lottery system to determine the order in which those students in the first phase would be eligible for seats that are available in the schools that they're asking for. Once that is done, should there be seats still available, in phase 2, we're looking at Martin County residents who don't have the characteristics that were just mentioned. We go through that phase. Phase 3 is then non-Martin County residents with one of the characteristics mentioned, active military, court order, foster care, that kind of thing. And then the 4th phase is non-Martin County residents who don't possess any of those characteristics according to board policy and controlled open enrollment procedures. And so once we place all of the students, all of the seats are filled, then any student who remains interested without a seat available would go on the wait list. And as we mentioned, as the year unfolds, if students withdraw, things change. We have students maybe in the high school who might graduate early, a seat could open up, and then we would go down the list in those phases and make those seats available to families who wish to attend the Martin County School District. For athletics, any student who is accepted into one of our schools is eligible to participate in athletics at our schools. So in other words, if a student is accepted in controlled open enrollment, they would receive a full schedule or be a full-time equivalent student and can participate in the athletics at our schools. However, controlled open enrollment is not a method to just participate in a sports team. So in other words, if you apply for controlled open enrollment only and you go to a different school, you can't use that as a mechanism just to play sports at a different school other than the one that you attend. Nothing changes for homeschool students or students in private school. They may still participate, obviously, in athletics, activities, all of those things at their home zone school. Nothing changes in that regard. This is just regarding students who apply for controlled open enrollment.
Thank you, Dr. Miller.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions from the board? Okay, seeing none. Do I have a motion?
Staff approval, staff recommendation?
With-
Staff recommendation, I move.
With the addition of full-time equivalent student?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
And I'll second that then.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. DiTerlizzi and a second by Ms. Roberts. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We will now have open to the public. Is there anyone here that would like to speak? Seeing none, we will move on to open with the board. Mr. DiTerlizzi? Ms. Roberts?
I'm good.
Thank you. Ms. Pritchett?
Yes, I spoke with Dr. Miller this afternoon, and I would like to know if it's possible at an upcoming regular meeting, if the board is so inclined, to put some really good, solid data together, informing the public exactly what's going on with the swimming pool at Martin County High School,
the steps we are taking to accommodate students and/or the community, and in such a way that they understand exactly why we're doing it and the expense and the rationale. Because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding, and I feel that the only way we're going to let everybody know is be totally transparent with everything and just make sure that we can give them the information that they need so that they understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent Maine, do you have anything you would like to say?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, this meeting is adjourned.
It's a long meeting, I'm tired.